Lighthouse keeper Harold Mitchell, who worked at the lighthouse for 30 years, had a secret he never told anyone. Lights emerging from under the sea every night at 3 a.m. and the beings watching them. Now 67 years old, he's finally ready to speak, and what he tells shocks everyone. Welcome to Shelley's Mysterious Files. Today I'm sharing with you the incredible secret kept by Harold Mitchell, who worked as a lighthouse keeper on the Maine coast for 30 years. Let's begin. Harold, why didn't you tell anyone for 30 years? And why have you decided to speak now?
Shelley, I've been asking myself this question for years. For 30 years, I saw the same things every night. But I thought no one would believe me. Lighthouse keeping is a solitary job. People already think you're a bit odd. If I had said I saw objects coming out of the sea, I would have lost my job and been known as the crazy old keeper. But now I'm retired, I have nothing to lose, and maybe people need to know about this.
How long had you been operating this lighthouse, and when did you experience your first strange encounter?
I worked at Beacon Point Lighthouse from 1993 to 2023, exactly 30 years. My first strange experience was in the second week of starting the job. I was 37 at the time, newly divorced, looking for a solitary life. That night I was on my normal shift. It was around 2 a.m. I was looking at the sea when I saw a light in the water in the distance. At first I thought it was a ship, but its movement was very strange. It was going up and down, sometimes diving into the water, sometimes coming out.
When you saw this first light, what was your reaction? How long did you watch it?
I watched it for about 20 minutes. It was making really strange movements. Normal ships don't move like that. Submarines don't dive and surface this frequently either. I looked through my binoculars, but it was too far away. I couldn't see details. There was just a very bright white light. Then it suddenly disappeared, as if it had never been there. That night I wrote in my log, "Saw a strange light at sea. Should be investigated." But the next day I started looking for logical explanations. Maybe it was a meteor, maybe a flashing lighthouse.
After this first experience, did you see similar things again? How frequently did this happen?
At first it happened once or twice a month. But over time I started seeing them more frequently, especially in winter months, on nights when the sea was calmer. I started seeing them 2 to 3 times a week. It always happened at the same times, between 2 and 4 a.m., and they always emerged from the same area, about 2 miles off the lighthouse. It was as if they had a fixed point there.
Did these objects always behave the same way? Did you see different types of lights or movements?
At first they all seemed the same, but as the years passed I started seeing more varied things. Sometimes a single light, sometimes they came out in groups of 2 or 3. Their colors were different too, white, blue, sometimes greenish. The most interesting thing was that some of them stayed suspended above the water, as if they were hovering in the air. They never made any sound. The sea is so quiet that you can hear helicopter sounds from miles away, but these made no sound at all.
As the years passed, did you observe an evolution in these sightings? Did they start behaving as if they recognized you?
That's a very strange question, but yes, I felt that way. In the first years, they would just appear and disappear, but over time they seemed to start noticing me. Especially after 5 to 6 years, I noticed that they seemed to direct their lights toward me. Sometimes I would turn the lighthouse beam on and off, and they would respond the same way. This was a very frightening, but at the same time, fascinating experience.
You're talking about this light communication. What was this experience like? Was there a pattern or system?
Yes, we seemed to develop a system over time. I would flash the lighthouse 3 times, and they would flash 3 times in the same way. I tried different combinations, 2 short, 1 long, and they would do the same. This communication sometimes lasted 10 to 15 minutes. It was as if both sides were trying to understand each other. The strangest part was that they never behaved aggressively. They kept their distance but seemed friendly.
During these communication experiences, did you feel fear, or were you curious?
I was very afraid in the first years. I knew I was facing something unknown. But over time, this fear turned into curiosity and even a kind of friendship. They never caused harm. They were just there. Sometimes on nights when I didn't see them, I felt their absence. It was as if they had become part of my night shift. Very strange, but it was a real feeling.
Did you share these events with anyone? Did your family or colleagues ever suspect anything?
I didn't tell anyone for the first few years. Then I tried to tell my wife Linda something, but she thought I was seeing things because I was tired. Once I mentioned it to Bob, a technician who worked the night shift, and he said maybe it's submarine activity. But submarines don't behave like that. Over time, I realized this had no ordinary explanation and decided to stay quiet.
Did you record these observations over 30 years? Did you try to take photographs?
Yes, I kept detailed logs. Every night I wrote what I saw, the time, weather conditions, the behavior of the lights. I also tried to take photographs, but with the technology of those times, it was very difficult to take quality photos from long distance at night. I have a few blurry photos, but you can't make out much. When digital cameras came, I started taking better photos, but they still can't be considered definitive proof.
What was your most impressive or memorable encounter? Do you have an experience where they passed very close to you?
My most memorable experience was in 2008. There was a big storm that night. Waves were 4 to 5 meters high. Normally I wouldn't see anything in such weather, but that night was different. Right in the middle of the storm, 3 large lights emerged from under the water. They were very close, maybe 500 meters away. Despite the storm, they weren't swaying at all, as if the wind and waves didn't affect them. They stayed there for 30 minutes, then slowly went under the water.
During this close encounter, could you get more detailed information about the objects, their shapes or sizes?
Yes, I could see much more clearly that night. They were circular. Their diameter could have been about 20 to 30 meters. They had no lights on top, but very powerful beams came out from underneath. These beams illuminated the seabed. The strangest part was that there were no water bubbles or waves around them. It was as if the water didn't affect them. They had a metallic surface, perfectly calm, despite the storm.
After this major encounter, did their behavior change? Did they start noticing you more?
It definitely changed. After that night, they started behaving as if they knew me. They became more visible, sometimes 4 to 5 times a week, and our light communication became more complex. They started using different colors, blue, green, red. It was as if they were trying to develop an alphabet. I also started trying different lighthouse signals. This was like a 15-year communication course.
During this long communication process, could you make any sense of it? Could you guess what you were talking about?
At first it was just like hello, but over time it started becoming more complex things. For example, they would give different signals before weather changes as if they were warning. They would be very active 1 to 2 days before big storms. Sometimes they seemed to give advance notice of maritime activities. I couldn't understand exactly, but we were communicating somehow.
As lighthouse technology changed, did their behavior change too? How did they react to new systems?
That's a very interesting point. When we switched to LED system in 2005, they adapted to that too. When the new light became more powerful and in a different spectrum, their lights changed too. It was as if they were following our technology. Strange things happened when we installed the GPS system too. Sometimes the GPS signal would get disrupted when they were nearby. It was as if they could affect electronic devices.
As you approached retirement, how did you feel about this situation? Were you sad that you would be leaving them?
In my final years, I was experiencing very mixed emotions. On one hand, I was sad that I would be leaving a 30-year friendship because it had become a friendship. On the other hand, I didn't want to take this secret to the grave. Maybe other people needed to know too. In my final months, it was as if they also understood that I was leaving. They started appearing more frequently, as if they were saying goodbye.
Did anything special happen on your last working night? Did you say goodbye to them?
My last night was very special. It was as if they had news. They came out much earlier than their normal times, around 10 p.m. 5 to 6 of them came out at once, more than I had ever seen. They were emitting very bright lights, as if they were celebrating. I also flashed the lighthouse for them one last time. We had a long light communication, maybe lasted 1 hour, then they slowly went under the water. I haven't seen them since that night.
After you retired, did you visit that area? Are they still there?
I went a few times, but since the lighthouse isn't operating anymore, I can't see them. The new keeper, Tom, is a young kid. I tried to tell him about these things, but he didn't really believe. He said maybe it was eye strain. But as long as I kept that lighthouse on, they were there. Maybe the bond I formed with them was special. Maybe they needed the lighthouse beam.
At the end of this 30-year experience, do you have a theory about what these were?
I thought about this for many years. I think these come from another planet, and they're studying our seas. The sea is the safest place for them. No one sees, no one bothers. Lighthouse keepers also work alone. They're trustworthy people. Maybe I was a kind of observation post for them. They tested me, understood I was trustworthy, and we worked in peace for 30 years.
How did this long-term contact experience affect you? Did your outlook on life change?
It affected me very deeply. I realized that this universe is much bigger and more mysterious than we thought. I think people should have more respect for the seas, the oceans, because there might be beings living there who are much more advanced than us. It also taught me to be patient. For 30 years I waited every night, watched them. This gave me great patience and inner peace.
Do you have any advice for other lighthouse keepers or maritime workers on this subject?
Keep your eyes open. They might see strange things at sea, but don't immediately look for logical explanations. Sometimes reality is as it appears. If they see similar things, they don't need to be afraid. According to my experience, they are harmless. They're just curious. And please keep records. Maybe these records will be very important in the future.
What do you think about scientific research of these experiences?
It definitely needs to be researched. I kept detailed records for 30 years. I want to give these to universities, research institutions. Maybe marine biologists, physicists can use this data. Understanding what's happening in our oceans is very important. Maybe these encounters aren't just happening off the Maine coast. Similar things might be happening all over the world.
Which is the most impressive record in your logs? Would you share your most detailed observation?
There's a record I wrote in 2015. I still can't forget it. That night, 7 objects had emerged from under the water. But this time they did something different. They lined up in some kind of formation above the water. It was as if they were dancing. Their lights were flashing in a synchronized way. This lasted 45 minutes. Then they all went under the water at the same time. That night I wrote in my log, it was as if I watched a show. It was very beautiful.
After these events, was your sleep pattern or health affected? Did you experience any physical changes?
Interestingly, during the time I worked in that area, I never got sick. I didn't even get a cold. Normally, maritime work is tough. You constantly work in wind and humidity, but I was very healthy. My sleep pattern was also very good. Despite the night shift, I slept very peacefully. It was as if those lights were affecting me positively. These effects diminished after I retired.
How does your family receive this subject now? Did they finally believe?
My wife Linda had approached skeptically at first, but now she believes, because she observed me very well for 30 years. She saw that I was happy and peaceful every morning when I came home. My son David is a scientist. He's still skeptical but open-minded. He says maybe it's real, but we need scientific proof. My daughter Sarah believes more. She even wants to visit that area with me.
What advice do you give to those listening to this story, for those who experience similar things?
First, they don't need to be afraid. If they're really having such an experience, it's usually harmless. Second, they should definitely keep records, write the date, time, weather conditions, details of what they saw. Third, take photos if possible. And finally, don't hesitate to share. Maybe there are other people experiencing similar things.
Do you believe there will be more openness on these subjects in the future?
I definitely believe it. Now, even governments are starting to be more open about UFO subjects. Maritime technology is developing. There are better imaging systems. Maybe in 10 to 20 years, this will be accepted as a normal thing. People like me will no longer be considered crazy, will be seen as serious witnesses. This makes me very happy.
Finally, what are the most important things this 30-year experience taught you?
The most important thing I learned is to be patient and open-minded. And for 30 years, I did the same job every night, waited at the same hours. This gave me great discipline. I also learned that the universe is very big. There are many things we don't know. I understood that people need to listen to each other, approach without judgment, because everyone can have different experiences.
Harold, thank you very much for sharing this 30-year secret with us. This really takes great courage.
Thank you, Shelley. I'm relieved now that I've shared this secret. I hope other people will also find the courage to share their similar experiences. This world can be a much more mysterious and beautiful place. We just need to be open-minded.
Listeners, you have heard the incredible experiences of Harold Mitchell, who worked as a lighthouse keeper on the Maine coast for 30 years. Next week, we'll be together again with another long-term encounter story. Thank you for joining us.